passenger compartment had to be at least 8 feet 9 inches long, 4 feet 2 inches wide, and 4 feet 4 inches high. Then there had to be a space for the engine and a luggage bay. The aim had been to give the Mini the quality of ride similar to that of a larger, more luxurious car. Pulled together a small but incredibly dedicated team to help achieve his goal. Prototypes of all the components were made and assembled into a hand-built body. Following a 5-minute drive round the Longbridge site, Leonard Lord, the company's chairman, gave Isagonis and his team just 12 months to have the new car in production. That meant that the first cars would be rolling off the production line a mere 15 months after the design team had started work.
A new baby in a famous family, and important because it's so small, the British Motor Corporation's Mini Minor. The 850cc engine is mounted across the car in both versions of this newcomer. In fact, there's hardly any difference between Morris and Austin Minis. Radiator grills and badges are the distinguishing marks, and you can't expect a very big boot in a very small car. Simplicity of design and instrumentation has been used to keep down cost. Around about 500 is mentioned as the price. Performance is said to include a top speed of 70 miles an hour, and the Mini should cruise at 50 miles to the gallon.
Although the press were intrigued and enthusiastic about the Mini, sales were initially slow. The production lines were producing, on average, 24 cars every hour. But supply was inadequate, and therefore deliveries unreliable. The Mini teetered on the brink of disaster. BMC had invested £10 million in its plants at Longbridge and Cowley, but the car was priced down at £496, which meant that it was competing with old basic models, such as the Ford Poplar. Persuading the lower end of the market to part with their cash was always going to be difficult, and for the more affluent middle class, the Mini was almost too cheap. Its early reputation also suffered when it was discovered that a panel in the floor was lapped the wrong way. Testing pre-production types had been carried out during the summer of 1959 when it was dry, and in the rush to get the production cars ready, the potential problem was missed. But come the first winter, rotting carpets became a familiar smell. But it was its image that saved the day. Soon demand began picking up as customers turned to the Mini. The little car seemed to be the preferred car for a diverse spectrum of the population, from youngs to airline pilots and families. Somehow, the Mini had something for everyone. In time, the Mini came to provide generations of people with their first driving experience.
Very interesting car to drive, particularly the pulling stirrer gear stick, which takes some getting used to. It also has a floor starter, centrally mounted ignition. It has drum brakes all round, as opposed to the Cooper and later Minis, which had discs on the front, drums on the back.
Throughout the 1960s, the Mini was continuously developed, and many derivatives appeared to satisfy various different markets. As soon as the saloon car was on its way out of the assembly shop, a van followed. Within a year of the Mini's launch, a wood-framed estate was offered. The ashwood frame was not structurally significant and was included to try and boost the car's appeal to the landed gentry. In 1961, the Mini pickup was introduced.
Love me do, you know I love you.
Cooper. BMC had entered a team of 3 cars on the Monte Carlo Rally in 1960. The little car looked perfectly at home through the streets of Paris, but out on the open road, they looked underpowered. However, as the conditions got tougher, the Mini's strength began to show. By the 1980s, the Mini was beginning to die. Profits on the Mini had always been marginal. In 1968, midway through its life, the profit on a Mini was just £35. That meagre sum could easily be wiped out by 3 hours overtime in 1 week. Rectification was not usually a large item, except that it was usually done on overtime. By the 1980s, material costs had risen, of course, but labour costs had skyrocketed. The Mini was losing money. But the small car market was far from dead, despite the gloomy economics. There were many more younger, first-time buyers than when the Mini was launched, and the Mini was a good car with which to introduce them to the range.
The pedals are bigger, the brakes are servo-assisted in the later Minis. They have distal front drums on the back. The steering is still rack and pinion, still very good, but the 12-inch wheels give the car a whole different feel. It grips the road better, but it's a little less agile.
In 1997, the coupe had twin-point injection and a front-mounted radiator. It also featured safety measures, such as an airbag and side impact bars in the door. By the year 2000, it was time to call it a day. At the beginning of October, the last Minis rolled off the production line. The Mini had been in continuous production for 41 years. There had been many changes in the world of motoring during that time. And although there had been many attempts to keep the Mini current, those that controlled the cash decided that the model had gone far enough. And yet, as this promotional film shows, the Mini still looked at home in its old stamping grounds. But not quite, for the name had been bought by the German car giant BMW. When it was announced that a new Mini was planned for the 21st century, many wondered, and worried, what on earth a German company would do with such a much-loved British icon.
Mini was given a facelift in 2007 and a better interior. It became slightly bigger and there was a new model to the range. Launched in 2007, it's the Mini Clubman. Very much like the original Mini Countryman, it's a modern version of that car. Don't forget to look out for the new Mini, due to be launched in 2009, a 4x4 version.